So, he just vanished?
I'm not sure, man. I joined, and then he's gone.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Ah!
Hello, it's me. In this video, we be looking at the top 5 worst burst speed spells in Legends of Runeterra. These are spells with activations that cannot be stopped and can be played on any player's turn. Perfect candidates for combat tricks during the battle phase. And although LoR is a live update game and most but not all of the spells are viable, there are just some that miss the mark. And also before I begin, your comments last video made my week better. I love the discussion, I love the compliments, keep it up because it makes me really happy. Thank you. I'm Krinbits and here are the top 5 worst burst speed spells in the game. Starting off with number 5 is Encroaching Shadows. It is a 4-cost spell that turns all of the units in your hand and deck into ephemeral units, and also gives them a +2/+2 buff. You don't want to use this card on round 4 because it just ruins your whole deck. Instead, you can use it as a last chance game ender. But the problem is that on round 8 or 9, you're running low on steam. You don't have the cards to swarm the board after activating the spell. And if you did have the cards, they don't have Overwhelm or Elusive to attack over blockers. Not only that, but your champions also become ephemeral units as well, which is not great. You're better off harrowing out your slain allies at the end of the game for one big swing. I can see how you can make this card work, but I don't see a reason why you would want this in your deck. Funny card though. Number 4 is Shroud of Darkness. For 1 mana you can put Spell Shield and +1 attack on a unit for 1 turn, which is not bad actually. Spell Shield is amazing, reactively. With Shroud of Darkness, you are proactively putting Spell Shield on a unit. What is stopping your opponent from holding back on their spells and using them next turn though? You usually want to wait until your opponent uses a high cost removal before activating Spell Shield. Otherwise, your opponent can just use any spell on a unit to remove it. It is true that there are some very important units in Shadow Isles such as Eternal Dancers, Nocturne, and Gwen, but if you're playing Shadow Isles, unit protection is not your biggest priority. There are some very important 1-cost units that you should be playing instead for a more aggressive playstyle. In summary, proactive 1-turn spell shields may sound nice, but just don't work. In number 3 we have Pocket Aces. Draw discounts are always an awkward place because if you draw them in your starting hand, they become bad spells. And if you do draw them, you can't hold back the spell for when you actually need it. Fortunately, the spell is permanent, so the buff can be held onto, but having 1 more health is not fantastic. It may be the only combat trick in Bilgewater, but I assure you that your secondary regions will have better combat tricks than Pocket Aces. Bilgewater doesn't really need any combat tricks either. Other than champions such as TF and Nami, there's not really a good candidate for Pocket Aces. And in number 2, you know this was coming and I probably made it the thumbnail, but Radiant Strike is not great, and I don't see why you would ever want to run this card. Elixir of Wrath is good because it gives a huge boost in power for Overwhelm units. Elixir of Iron is a solid 1 mana protection spell that nobody ever thinks of when attacking. But Radiant Strike just doesn't work. 1 more stat doesn't change much, and if it did change something, then your opponent can just easily counter buff their unit by using their own combat trick. And it doesn't help that there are far better options in the same region. You can save an extra mana for Sharp Sight. You can even just use Cat, which is just a better Radiant Strike. You can use Chain Vest for burst speed tough, and adding onto the list, Demacian Steel is just a far better option. Just don't use Radiant Strike, that is all. All of the spells I listed are mediocre, but all of them can be played in some ways where it can benefit the players. Even Radiant Strike, maybe. Except for number 1. Liam, give us a drumroll. Number 1 is Sown Seeds. This is a 2 mana do nothing card. I'm not kidding, you don't get the effects until you summon another unit. And even then, it's not worth it because you have to have at least 3 units in your hand to make this card decent. So with a very specific condition, you need to wait until you can use this card, and that may mean you have to hold back on summoning units, which means your opponent is building their board while you're not. This card used to be a 3 mana burst speed spell that gave +2 power instead, but that was a very powerful spell so they nerfed it. Now it's just a tempo loss. Somehow this card is even worse than Radiant Strike. How? And there you have it. I know there's a few burst speed spells that I missed, but that's for another video. But if you do know one, please let me know in the comments in case I forgot about it. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Anyways, I'm Krin, don't do illegal, don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Alright, peace.